Now, I'm sure most of you have heard of Black Clover, either from the manga or the anime adaptation, or you just flap to the hentai of Black Clover. In this episode, we'll be covering Hungry Joker, who's made by the same mangaka as that, and whether you like it or not, well, we'll find out in this video. This is episode 3 of Underrated, Overrated. In this series, I review things that I've read before and haven't even heard of, and then we give it a score at the end, whether it's underrated, overrated, or underrated, overrated, or we call it for what it actually really is. And before, of course, I have to plug this in before we continue on with the review. I have to tell you guys there's episode 1 and 2 and what those are. Episode 1 was Shinmai Fuke Kuroku-san. Episode 2 was Rival. Very interesting stories, and I gave them my honest review. And I'm giving this my honest review too. Very honest. Alright, so we do this in steps if you're new here. You can check those out, or you could just stay on this one. It doesn't matter. Like I said, we do this in steps. I kind of skipped around. And let me go. The first step is first impressions. Let's go. Basically, to give you guys my first impressions, I redo chapter 1 to 3. I relay it to you as I first read it. Basically, give you the feedback, kind of in a way. Basically, the first itch starts off pretty strong with. I feel so anyway. It starts off pretty strong to my interest, and it has this dark atmosphere. Opens up with this glowing deaf guy. No, not deaf. He's dead guy, and they say contact the usual scientists, which we meet Haiji and Chitose. That's their names. And of course, this the professor is very interested. He gets a call. He calls, I guess, the police department for a raise, or somebody for a raise, the science division for a raise on the research funds, and they say yes, and they go through with this research as and we of course get a scene with someone seen far away, looking at them from afar or something. And of course they diagnose the body. He talks about his past, and the only thing he has in his past is an apple. The monster comes alive from behind them, assumably being controlled by that person we saw standing, and attacks him and impales him. Of course, his only chance of living now, of course, is biting the apple, which is part of his earliest memories that he could find, because he doesn't know his past. I was like, okay, that's cool, I guess. Alright, I don't know where this is going, so I'm gonna keep going with this. And keep reading this. Of course, he wakes up, slices the damn monster in half. It gets killed. Pretty much. That's just pretty much the gist of chapter 1. He questions more about the apple, because it's a regenerating apple, of course. It regenerates every time he takes a bite of it. And of course, we get the more of this look of this guy or girl. But that's what I thought anyway at the start. And the old guy talking about some shit about the experiment, which is assumingly Haji. They're experimenting on him or some shit. Whatever. Go to chapter 2. He's in the hospital. Of course, the motherfucker got impaled, right? But he's still testing out his gravity powers, in which he got from the apple. And they're just talking back and forth until this nurse comes into play and asks her to give the apple to her. It escalates pretty quickly, and she turns to a damn monster. Which we'll know the name of that later, but this is what I'm pretty much thought. He turns into a monster. I'm thinking, okay, well, yeah, that escalated quickly. That's interesting. We meet the person we saw. It explains that the apple is a Eureka, and whatever. They basically fight. They fucking pick up buildings and shit. The lady's in danger. Eventually, she gets released, and the person says they're referring to our kind as gods. And at that point, I was like, uh-oh, that's a big no-no for me, a little bit. You know, because that kind of gets a little, like, in a boring way. I'm like, uh-oh, this, I think it was gonna go in a certain mystery direction. You know what I mean? But it's going in another direction, it seems. Eventually, this person gets immediately defeated. This third person talks with this girl. Whatever. The other Haji and Chitose basically give the girl money for his experiment, and they head over to the next Eureka, which is in the museum, which is a hammer. That's my first impressions. I just think, okay. Alright, so full story is basically me giving you guys my perception of the story in general, to help you guys further understand where I'm coming from in the score and basically the story in general. Now it picks off in chapter 4. Basically, we spend the entire chapter, man, her getting cold feet. They didn't go to the museum because she gets cold feet, and she comes back to him eventually. Now that's great for character building, right? From a certain point of view, but at the same time, it feels like a waste of fucking time because she comes back because we get character story of her, or her background. Her father was a former scientist that died. Her mother always her mother always stuck by his side no matter what. Blah blah blah. She comes back. That's all that needs to be known. From that point, the next story event is them heading over to the museum to be a guy named Alan Blackman who holds the hammer they're looking for, which is Eureka hammer. They were about to fight. Obviously, it didn't happen because a lady interrupts them. That's part of a group named White Joker, which Alan is also a part of, and they basically wants to save the world. And that shit ticked me off a little bit because that's kind of like leading towards mediocrity right there. She wants him to join, Haji to join. He refuses until she tempts him about his past, and then he's like, yeah. Then a villain busts out of nowhere. He's part of the Malvo. Alan Blackman and Haji team up, beat him. And he joins White Joker to save the world from Eureka, get the Eureka out of the wrong hands. Basically, the whole story from that point is them meeting new people like Nils and Vivian. Then he meets his brother to find out he's half human, half Malvo. Then Chitose also gets a Eureka. Then they face off against the first villain we saw, killed, and then that's it. That's pretty much it. Now, real quick, the manga does a great job at introducing us to these characters and establishing their main traits. However, obviously, since it's short, we don't get too much growth, but we kind of get a rush of growth for the main character, so it seems to me. He starts talking about friendship at the end, which is something he doesn't really seem like he would do necessarily at that time of his growth. It just seems weird and out of place. And some characters we just don't give a shit about, like Nils. He doesn't really do much, so there's that. Towards the end, I was kind of losing. I kind of lost my interest because I felt things were moving at such a weird pace in the story. Like the human world, the gods, Eureka, and here's my trump card, Darwin Seed, turns me to this big thing. Like, what the fuck is going on here? I feel like this story has so many good ideas, and the story is just too short for it, and it should have went in certain directions, multiple directions, than what it already did. I feel like the story was purposely meant to be short, and the ending is just really fucking stupid. It's just, yeah, do a time skip later, and then the dude smiles, like, which I already said would feel like out of character. They start talking about friends. It's just really weird, man. It's an interesting concept, and it leads me to think, what would I change? Now, you're probably wondering, you have a weird perception of this story if you really like this and you see it another way. Well, then it just makes what I changed all the more interesting. Now, doesn't it? Now, main timeline. From the point he joins White Joker to the end point, right? You see that point, right? that got I was just thinking, I like, okay, what would I change about that point? And then I just thought, like, you know what? Change the whole direction of the entire story. You know what I mean? Make multiple mysteries. This entire premise of Eureka and these groups of the White Joker, and it just the starting what I initially thought, whatever his name is, the professor is, who he is, could be made into a mystery. You could have made the character much more selfish and a little bit unlikable, because I thought he was being a jerk to Chitose at the beginning, and that's why he went to go ask for her assistance. You know, and have that little relationship with her, that jerk scientist with kind assistant type of relationship or something. I thought that was gonna go in that direction. I constantly got distracted, I'm not gonna lie, from the story and by the potential I saw in it. And it's just weird. It went into these cliche things like protect the world and shit, and I'm like, oh, come on. You know what I mean? I thought I was gonna go for a mystery, make it a constant mystery. Make Chichose's father like a multi-mystery. So it would have made chapter 4 more actually mean as shit towards the story. You know what I mean? And you could have made like a little mini mystery that connects to the main mystery of his past, the professor's past. And you know, and you could. The thing is, it's not how about what you put in it. You can still keep things that happen, just change them around in their importance. Like the White Joker, he refuses a White Joker, and his character could be like a little asshole-ish, and he makes his own group, and it'll be like 3 main groups trying to go for the Eureka. That's how I think, and that just goes to the score, man. Now, you see what I would change. You saw, and I feel like majority of you would probably find that very interesting, probably more interesting than what was already shown in Hungry Joker. To me, I feel it's a mixed feeling with Hungry Joker, man. It just feels I felt confused personally by the end. Where the fuck I thought it was going in a certain direction, it didn't. It just ended, and you know what? It didn't feel like it ended because of natural causes of it getting canceled because it was uninteresting. It felt like it ended because it was supposed to fucking end. And I don't have too much information on the whole story of it and its run, Weekly Shonen Jump, but that's what it felt like when I initially read the story. It just felt mid. It took a mediocre steps. It wasn't trying to change anything. The main character is the main fucking character. He's mediocre as shit overall. He had an interesting background to him. It's fucking mid. It's overrated mid, because people like to call this shit good. It's not fucking good. You know what I mean? It's not totally trash, but it ain't fucking good. You know? That's just how it is. It's overrated mid shit, dude. This is what Hungry Joker is. Be sure to hit that dislike button, share, sub, comment, and hit the notification bell. And if you really will like this video, hit the like button too. That's how it is. Tell me your thoughts below. Many Black Clover fans might say is that, you know, he improved later. Well, that's that. Till next confirmation, I'll be seeing ya. Peace.